everyone, it's me, Julian Greystoke. Sorry the lighting is kind of crappy. It's another day where it's overcast outside and then I have my light shining on the other half of my face, so you get this lovely two-face half-in-shadow effect, which we'll pretend is intentional to make me look mysterious. I am wearing this awesome shirt that came from a friend of mine. Is it not perfect for me? I think it is. We're going to do a really interesting video today that was suggested by one of my patrons. Oh yes, remember, if you're one of my patrons, you always have my ear. I do need to go back through and look at all of my patron suggestions. Also, if you're my patron at a certain level, you get to boss me around and like basically just tell me to make a video. Today's idea came from when I was actually listening to another YouTuber's video on a car ride, and they were talking about the frustration that I share in querying. If you're in the querying trenches like I am, you know the frustration of trying to get someone to be interested in your book when all you have is your query letter and the first 5 pages. Because most agents request 5 pages. You have 5 fucking pages to convince someone that they want to read and then sell your book. That's insane. If you think about it, insane. Who decides at 5 pages whether they like a book or not? I don't know. I certainly don't. And I just so happened to mention this to the patron in question, and they said, well, why don't you do a video that is you reading the first 5 pages of published books and seeing if you, and like putting yourself in the shoes of an agent and seeing whether you think that you would keep reading, be excited about this book, think that maybe these first 5 pages would be enough to get you going. Now keep in mind that because these are published books, they will not be in the same condition as they would have been when the agent first read them. Because after the agent reads them, they go through more edits. So these books are generally going to be a bit more polished than what an agent would get to read. But we're going to go by the same concept. We're going to read the cover blurb, which is going to stand in as our cover letter, our query letter, and then we are going to read the first 5 pages of 5 books which I have selected randomly from my library. We will now cut to the footage of me making that selection. Go ahead. Somebody's got a very loud radio, but I don't care. I am here with this anatomically correct library lion. Yep. Alright, outside my library, and we're gonna go pick some books. So let's go do that. Come with me, won't you? I'm gonna be super awkward, you know, so what else is new? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pick books that seem like they might be in my genre, so YA fantasy. And I'm not gonna look, I'm just basically gonna cover grab, essentially, like try to get some variety or whatever, but like I want it to mimic like a slush pile, so I won't know what I'm getting. I'm just gonna grab. So we'll see what we get, but I am gonna try to get stuff that looks like it's in my genre, and then we'll see where we go from there. So yeah, see you inside, I guess. I don't know if you've heard of any of these. A problem that I didn't think I was going to have was that so many fantasy books are part of series. So I hope that I got like first books, but I guess we'll find out. I tried to pick ones that look like standalones, but I think some of them are definitely first books. So we're going to see how that goes. And we will now cut back to Julian in the studio, such as it is. Ping! There we go! We have all of these books selected. I hope that wasn't too painful for you. By the way, patrons got to see that little clip earlier. You know, they get sneak peeks and stuff too sometimes. So I picked 5 books at random to simulate a slush pile. I tried to make them all fantasy, YA fantasy, because that's what my current book that is querying is. We're just going to sit here. Well, I'm going to sit here. You guys are going to, you know, use the magic of editing. And we're going to go through these books and see how I feel about the first 5 pages. Does that sound exciting? Gosh, I hope so. The first book just at the top of my pile is called The Pale Assassin, which I gotta say, the aesthetic is intriguing me already. I love assassins, I love lady assassins. I have no idea if that's what this book is about. It's by Patricia Elliott. Let's read the inner cover, shall we? Spoiled, beautiful, and orphaned, 14-year-old Eugene de, oh my goodness, Bonsoir, I have no idea how to pronounce these things, is accustomed, Eugenie, I think her name is Eugenie, Eugenie de Bonsoir, is accustomed to outrageous privilege. The French Revolution may rage around her, but Eugenie is far more interested in her over-the-top life of fancy parties, gorgeous dresses, and doting governesses. What Eugenie doesn't know is that her guardian has promised her in marriage to a wealthy revolutionary called Le Fantôme for his ghostly white skin and chilling manner. He has long nursed a secret grudge against her family. As the revolution, Nigel is doing his dance over here. As the revolution becomes increasingly violent, Eugenie dusts off her lightly used brains, oh my goodness, and rises to the challenge of survival. Soon, she is in the thick of turmoil and romance, discovering shocking secrets and surprising loyalties in her desperate quest to get out of France alive. But whatever Eugenie does, the pale assassin is never far away. So, okay, I'm slightly less interested. It sounds like this might be more of a romance, but I'm going to read the first 5 pages of The Pale Assassin and see how we do. When was this published? This is from 2009. It was published by Holiday House. It does have a list of the main characters in the front, or all of the characters in the front, because it's very French. So this might be handy for anybody who's confused about French things. This does seem like it's a historical fiction more than a fantasy, but I'm just gonna go with it because yeah. Okay, so the first chapter essentially is the first 5 pages, so that's handy, and I definitely see what the author was doing with it. Very common trick that in this case worked. What I believed was the first chapter is actually a prologue, but it is not called a prologue. It just looks like the first chapter until you get to the first chapter and then it says 1. So, but what they did was they started with an action assassination moment. So we see baby Eugenie as someone tries to assassinate her father. And it's unclear whether this assassin is the one who will later, probably fall in love with her. But I'm betting it is. That or it will be this assassin's son. This does show a trick that some people do use to get an agent's attention, and it was left in the final book, of having a separate action moment before we get to the book proper where things might be a bit slower. Because if you can hook your reader with an action scene, a really adventurous, dangerous moment, they're more likely to be cool with reading, a more chill scene afterward, or even several chill chapters because they know they've had a taste of the action and they want more. If I was an agent, I think I would be intrigued by this book. As a reader, I'm kind of like, because I think I know it's more of a romance, but as an agent, I might be like, you know what, yeah, send me some more pages, because I do think this little trick at the beginning was fairly effective at getting me interested. It sets up the assassin. He was thwarted, his assassination was thwarted, so he wants revenge, and so I think that this was a pretty good hook. And it does bring up something I've been thinking about doing with Boots, is adding a little section onto the beginning with Joanna, who's kind of the one responsible for most of the action in the book, and potentially having a small Joanna section at the beginning to hook people in. And this book is enticing me to maybe to do that even more, to just go ahead and write that section. There we go, there's the first one. If I was an agent, I'd probably ask for more pages. Next up, we have Silver in the Blood, which I'm guessing is maybe more of a werewolf story. It is by Jessica Day George, who is apparently a New York Times bestselling author, I don't know. Published by Bloomsbury. Boy, there's a lot of names in this. I just both of these books are making me pronounce things that I don't approve. As debutantes in 1890s New York City, cousins Dacia and Lou knew little about their mysterious Romanian relatives, that's hard to say, the Florescues. Now, upon turning 17, the girls must journey to Romania to meet their cousins and their tyrant grandmother and learn the secrets of their family. Secrets spoken of in whispers, known only as the claw, the wing, and the smoke. But as, oh my goodness, Nigel, why? But as dangerous as those family secrets might be, even more dangerous is the centuries-old bond between the Florescues and the royal Dracula family. Oh, have we got werewolves and vampires? That's always a classic. It seems that it's time for Darcia and Lou to give up their life in New York society and take their place among the loyal servants of the Draculas, an inheritance more treacherous than the girls could have imagined. Do they have the courage to break the shackles of their upbringing and set the course of their own destiny? I don't know, but here's something that I have heard that you should not do in your query. Keep in mind that authors don't write these most of the time. So this would be different from what was in their query. But in a query, you are not supposed to ask these questions like this. Do they have the courage to break the shackles of their upbringing, blah, blah, blah. You're not supposed to do that. Avoid those kinds of questions. But like I said, this isn't from their query. Jessica Day George has written a lot of other books, so that's cool. This was published in 2015, which actually surprises me because I thought we were over vampires already in 2015. Maybe not. Maybe we were still doing the vampire thing and you could get a vampire book published. It looks like she's going to use a similar trick to the previous author, but it's going to be much shorter. So let's go ahead and read the first 5 pages. Okay, so I've gotten through the first 5 pages of Silver in the Blood. The first thing, it did open up with a letter from our main character to Lou, the other character. Our main character is traveling on a ship, probably to Romania, I believe, if I'm understanding correctly. I did not enjoy this first section because it was very telly. I see what the author is doing. They're trying to just drop a bunch of information right away. They are weaving in some desires by the main character, which is good. You get an idea right away of what the main character wants. Not so much who she is, which, but what she wants, so that's a good thing for sure. We get a little bit of a mystery starting near the bottom of page 5 that she's with her aunt and her aunt is acting unusually. Again, we're being told this. I don't love the delivery system. I think this author is definitely doing things to entice the reader, but for me, the delivery system isn't the best because it's all very direct and very like, my aunt is behaving weirdly. She doesn't usually behave this way. I don't want to be here. I want to go to Paris. You know, it's very direct and telly, and I don't love that. If I was an agent, this book personally would not entice me to keep reading after 5 pages. Because even though it tries to get in a lot in those 5 pages of what this character wants, I still don't have a strong idea of who this character is. Except for in the most broad sense in that she mentions going into a bookstore and buying some books before her journey could start, which I think is supposed to bond us to her, but it's such an overdone way of bonding us to a character that it doesn't speak to me at all. It's like, oh, she loves books, every YA heroine loves books. So what? So I think I would probably give this one a miss if I was an agent. And again, this is my personal taste, but I think the first one did a much better job of grabbing me, and this one didn't. Another thing I should really quick mention about this book is that in today's current writing climate, it's very unlikely that this book would be picked up as a debut. Now, I know vampires are coming back, but until probably like right now, they have been a dead genre for a while. And I think even when this book was published, they were dying out. So this would definitely be, if I was an agent and this was a debut, I would be even less likely to pick it up. However, as this author is an established author, and as I mentioned, she has lots of books, it would be more likely, since she is proven, that they would take this book on, even if it is a dead genre. I've acquired my water, complete with Slytherin green straw. Okay, next we have Frozen. Frozen. I wonder if this came out before or after the movie. But the O is a little dragon, and I'm hoping that this is at least the first in a series. Okay, Heart of Dread Book 1. Okay, good. That was a concern. So let's go ahead and read. Oh, this is by Melissa de la Cruz. and Michael Johnston. Apparently she wrote the Blue Blood series, which I think I have heard of. Not read, but heard of. Welcome to New Vegas, a city once covered in bling, now blanketed in ice. Ooh, this is post-apocalyptic by the sound of it. Like much of the destroyed planet, the place knows only one temperature, freezing. But some things never change. The diamond in the ice desert is still a 24-hour hedonistic playground, and nothing keeps the crowds away from the casino floors, never mind the rumors about sinister sorcery lurking in the shadows. At the heart of the city is Natasha Kestel, a young blackjack dealer looking for a way out. Like many, she's heard of the mythical land called the Blue. They say it's a paradise where the sun still shines and the waters are turquoise. More importantly, it's a place where Nat won't be persecuted even if her darkest secret comes to light. But passage into the Blue is treacherous, if not impossible. Nat's only shot is to bet on the ragtag crew of mercenaries led by a cocky runner named Ryan Wesson. Danger and deceit await on every corner, even as Nat and Wes find themselves inexorably drawn to each other. But can true love survive the lies? Fiery hearts collide in this tale of the evil some men do and the awesome power within us all. Alright, so there's a lot of things in this book that are against it. First of all, being post-apocalyptic, those are kind of out right now. What is the word I'm looking for? Contemporary fantasy, whatever it's called, is kind of on the outs right now. It's making a comeback. I do want to see when this was published. But keep in mind that this is an author who already has a base. She wouldn't be relying really on the first 5 pages of this to hook an agent, but let's see what she does anyway. There was really no way. I wasn't going to do enough research to be like, is this their debut book? That's a little bit way too much for me. It was published by Penguin in 2013, so it's a little bit older. Okay. The first 5 pages of this are a prologue again, and it's kind of doing the same thing, and it is using a very similar cheat to the one the first book was using. I'm gonna read it, but I'm kind of salty about it, and at the same time I'm storing that away to maybe use later, because I'm starting to think I need one of these. Okay, this one is doing something a little bit weird, and I don't understand why. Because, okay, as I said, it began with a prologue, which is action-y. It's about our main character escaping from what seems to be a prison vessel, and she, like, flies out using the probably dragon powers, since there's a lot of dragon motif here, dragon powers that she seems to have. And she escapes, and I'm like, okay, well, obviously the escape, that's the big thing that draws us in. And then the next, I read a little bit of chapter 1. To see, like, are we going to go back into, like, a day in her life, and now we get to the boring part. But it does. It's like, okay, now here's her life. But, like, a paragraph down, it explains what happened after she jumped off of the thing, you know, the train or whatever, and flew. I think it was a train. It's really unclear. But anyway, she flew away and flew to New Vegas, and I'm just curious why we don't just continue with this exciting bit and explain what happened to her. I don't know why it's doing that, what that's doing. I guess I'm not a professional. This person is a professional writer and I am not, so I should learn from it, I guess. I am definitely learning, because we've got 3 books already that start with something that's not this story. And I'm thinking I might have to do that. I probably won't do it, like, I'm not going to have a prologue. I don't like prologues as a personal preference. But I might have to put a little Joanna action section at the beginning of Boots. I feel like it's far more for the agent, to be honest, because as a reader, I don't mind, personally, if my book starts out a little slow. Maybe some people are really bothered by that, and they're like, no, I need action immediately. But I don't. Like, I could have started with her in Vegas and been fine, and I wanted to find out more about her. But, so that's Frozen. If I was an agent, I would probably ask for more pages. I don't know as if I would eventually publish it, but it would be enough it's enough to make me curious. I'd be like, okay, I'd probably be like, okay, I feel less strongly about this one than, like, the first one that I read in this group, and actually, I'll be real, I'm probably gonna, like, I might actually read that book, the first one. Lost Voices, which is clearly a mermaid book, and I know mermaid books are in a really weird place, because they're kind of a dead genre, but at the same time, everybody's clamoring to read them, so they are and they aren't. They're in a really strange position. I'm not really interested in writing a mermaid book myself, and I've never been a real mermaid person, but this is a book that I grabbed, so I had to take it. Let's read the synopsis. Luce is one of those lost girls. After her father vanishes in a storm at sea, she is stuck in a grim, gray Alaskan fishing village. Oh, it is enticing me. I do love Alaska. With her alcoholic uncle. When her uncle crosses an unspeakable line, oh goodness, Luce reaches the depths of despair. Abandoned on the cliffs near her home, she expects to die when she tumbles into the icy, churning waves below. Instead, she undergoes an astonishing transformation and becomes a mermaid. A tribe of mermaids finds Luce and welcomes her in. All of them, like her, lost girls who surrendered their humanity into the darkest moments of their lives. The mermaids... I'm having trouble saying the word mermaid. It's a struggle. The mermaids are beautiful, free, and ageless. Luce is thrilled with her new life until she discovers the catch. They feel the uncontrollable desire to drown seafarers. That's a bit of an issue. Using their enchanted voices to lure ships onto the rocks. Luce's own remarkable singing talent captures the attention of the tribe's queen, the fierce and elegant Katerina. Luce soon finds herself pressured to join in committing mass murder. Luce's struggle to retain her inner humanity puts her at odds with her friends. Even worse, Katerina seems to regard Luce as a potential rival. But the appearance of a devious new mermaid brings a real threat to Katerina's leadership and endangers the very existence of the tribe. Can Luce find the courage to challenge the newcomer, even at the risk of becoming rejected and alone once again? Whoa, it ends with one of those questions you're not supposed to use, but apparently those are fine to use in this. This was published in 2011, and it was published by Houghton Mifflin, so that's a big one. Let's see what we got here. Looks like we might actually start in fucking chapter 1 with this book. Wow. I am shocked and amazed. I'm going to peek ahead just to see if maybe this isn't chapter 1. A book starting with chapter 1. Wow. Yep, starts with chapter 1. I am amazed. Let's get into it. Okay, we have finished the first 5 pages of Lost Voices, and this author did something unusual, that they kind of flipped it. They flipped the script, if you will. The first, 4 pages of this are the main character Luce at school. This author is doing a pretty good job of showing instead of telling. It's very evident that Luce is incredibly shy and depressed, and especially today because it is the anniversary of her father's death. And a teacher is trying to get her to come out of her shell. And I liked it. I think it was well done. I do kind of wish that this was going to turn out to be a contemporary book and just explore Luce versus her turning into a mermaid. And then, at page 5, we get a flashback to her when she was a kid working with her dad, who is a criminal, and they're on the run from the police, and she helps him do his crimes because, she's an innocent little kid, so that would be helpful for a criminal to potentially utilize. And I'm curious why the author decided to do it this way, to have Luce in the present and then jump to Luce in the past with a potentially more exciting scene instead of reversing them. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why they did that. When so much more often you see the exciting scene from the past happen and then we cut to the future, at least in the books that we've been reading here today. So that was interesting. I will say that I find this book to be so far pretty well written, and if I was into mermaids, I think I might keep going. If I was an agent and I was interested in mermaids, that's just the thing. That whole mermaid thing is the toughest sell. If I was an agent and I was into mermaids, I would definitely ask for more pages. But if I was not into mermaids, I'd probably give this a pass, because while this beginning of the story is really enticing to me, knowing that she turns into a mermaid is a turnoff for me personally. But if you are looking for a mermaid book that seems to be at least somewhat well written, try Lost Voices, I guess, by, I forgot to say the author's name even, because I'm terrible, Sarah Porter. And this is her debut. Nice. Nice. Cool. She has a very, very small bio in the back. But this is her debut, so good for her. This is a bit older, as I mentioned, so I wouldn't look at this as the template for how to do it now. And finally we have Enchanted by Alethea Contis. This one looks like the most like it's going to be a romance, and when I was picking it out, I almost put it back, but I was like, no. It looks like it's probably fantasy-esque, and we're going to pick it. It came in our slush pile. It was fate. So let's read the inner cover here. It isn't easy being Sunday's child. Not when you're rather, oh my gosh, Nigel, why does he do this every time I start reading these? Not when you're the rather overlooked and unhappy youngest sibling to sisters named for the other 6 days of the week. Ooh, we have a gimmick. Sunday's only comfort is writing stories, although what she writes has a terrible tendency to come true. Uh-oh. When Sunday meets an enchanted frog who asks about her stories, the two become friends. Soon the friendship deepens into something magical. One night, Sunday kisses the frog goodbye and leaves, not realizing that her love has transformed him back into Rumbold, the crowned prince of Ireland, and a man Sunday's family despises. Whoopsie. The prince returns to his castle intent on making Sunday fall in love with him as the man he is, not the frog he was. But Sunday is not so easy to woo. How can she feel such a strange, strong attraction to this prince she barely knows? And what twisted secrets lie hidden in his past and hers? This one ends with a question as well. Apparently that's a really popular thing to do. This one actually I'm intrigued now because it's a retelling of The Princess and the Frog, and I love retellings, and Boots is a retelling, so I'm very curious to see what they do with this one. It was published in 2012, and it was published by Harcourt, an imprint of Houghton Mifflin. Is this her debut? I want to find out now. Is this a debut? Okay, she wrote 2 picture books and some short stories, but I feel like this might be her first novel. So let's go ahead. It does start with chapter 1 by the look of things, so that's exciting. Let's go ahead and give this first 5 pages a read. Okay, so I finished the first 5 pages of Enchanted, and it just gets right down to business. It does use a gimmick at the very beginning, like the first page is from the main character's journal as she's writing sort of this fantastical story. It's really used to catch us up on her life, because she's a bit of an unreliable narrator, but at the same time, she does tell you about her family, even if it's perhaps a bit embellished. And then, at chapter 2, the frog shows up and they start talking and they begin their friendship. So this book does not waste any time getting you to girl meets frog, they become friends. This one is leaning towards middle grade in the writing style and just the general tone and how quickly it gets going. Nothing wrong with that, but it does feel a little bit more middle grade, and I don't know if it was on the YA shelf, but at the same time sometimes things kind of get a little bit misshelved. I am intrigued by this one. I don't know if I would keep going if I were an agent, to be honest, especially nowadays we're more oversaturated, unfortunately for me, with fairy tale retellings, and this one didn't grab me, so I don't know for sure if I would ask for more pages. If I was an agent who really loved retellings, I might ask for more pages. And as me, oh my gosh, I lost Nigel and now Kinshu's here to tap dance on my lap. As me, as Julian, I might give this book a chance just because I do like retellings, and I also need more comp titles for Boots, although this one's kind of old. Comp titles I'm really struggling with that. And then Kinshu just leaves. Okay, bye, I guess. Almost all of these books started out with some kind of gimmick. Something small, often short, sometimes the first 5 pages, sometimes just the first 1 or 2, that was separate from the story to get your attention. And my husband stopped in briefly. I don't know why I'm still waving that book around. And I told him what I was doing, and he thinks I should try this again with more modern books to see if using that gimmick is still in. Because now I'm curious, how often does it happen? That's one thing I don't necessarily notice. If I'm listening to a book, which is how I generally absorb them, I might not notice as much if there is that little starter gimmick thing as I would just reading it off the page. Let me know if you're interested, otherwise I'll just maybe do this research on my own, but let me know if you want to be included. So this was a really interesting and educational little experiment. What did you guys think? Did you like it? Did you get anything from it? Comment below and let me know, and especially if you want to see more of this, are you going to check out any of these books that I randomly just chose from my library shelves? Let me know. I'm curious. I'm very curious now. Before we get on to my delightful outro, there is one more thing that I kind of wanted to mention. Is that while I was interested in getting, more, perhaps reading more pages, were I an agent, we haven't factored in how much agents have to read every day. They don't just get 5 books, they get a lot more. And so an agent obviously didn't pass up all of those books, but there's a good chance that they might have if it was the wrong agent, the wrong time, the wrong moment, because agents have to go through so many manuscripts and make that split-second decision, yes, this sounds interesting, no, this doesn't, and like their paycheck is on the line. I was a very willing agent, and I don't think that they are necessarily able to pick like 3 of the 5 or however many I picked to get more pages from. If you liked what you saw here, I have lots of videos here on this channel, and the more that you watch and the more that you click like will tell YouTube that you enjoy seeing these videos. You can also support me on Patreon, where not only will your donations go towards getting me better equipment, but also you get to see all kinds of exclusive videos. Don't forget that all the links to my social media are in the doobly-doo for ease of your clicking, and I will see you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye! Hello, again. It's time for the shout out. It's time to shout out my patrons, Lennox, Amanda, Irene, Jenny, Joseph, Kim, Lisa, Sabby Panda, Sam, Sarah, Savvy, and Scribbling Cat. As usual, I am still astounded that I have so many amazing patrons supporting me. You guys are the best.